Welcome, everyone. I am Amber Morin, the Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape Program Coordinator. I'm excited to present to you all today at the 30th anniversary of the Southwest Wings Festival, and hopefully we can all meet again in person next year. But I'm going to go ahead and begin my presentation, so if you'll give me just a moment to share my screen, we can begin, and I hope you all enjoy. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me at the end of the presentation when you can see my contact information if you have any questions about the installation in Fort Huachuca or the Sentinel Landscape program in general. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my page here about what is a Sentinel landscape. So a Sentinel landscape is really a designation. It's a designation by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Department of Defense, and the Department of Interior. It is defined as an area which natural and working lands are well suited to protect defense facilities from land use that is incompatible with the military's mission. Fort Huachuca was designated a Sentinel landscape in 2015. The very first Sentinel landscape was designated in 2013, and the original partnership, which began the Sentinel landscape program, was established in 2013. Again, just to reiterate, it's a national partnership to strengthen military readiness, conserve natural resources, bolster agricultural and forestry communities, and increase climate change resilience. So those are all things that this partnership addresses, which is why the three federal partners came together in the very beginning. I do want to mention that in 2021, the application for new Sentinel landscape has opened. We will have 3 additional Sentinel landscapes added to the national program by the end of this year. Currently, there are 7 Sentinel landscapes that have this designation nationwide. So many of you may be asking, well, why Fort Huachuca? Fort Huachuca is home to the U.S. Army Intelligence Center of Excellence and Network Enterprise Technology Command. Many of you may be asking what that is. In short, it is the hub of electromagnetic testing nationwide. They use more unmanned aerial vehicle training opportunities, and it really is a pristine environment to allow our national defense to do these type of testings. Nowhere else in the nation is this type of testing done on this scale, and mainly that is due to the Sky Island Mountains that surround Fort Huachuca, which includes the Huachuca Mountains. You've got the Chiricahua Mountains, and these mountain ranges really protect our area and create a bowl which creates this pristine environment away from electromagnetic waves, which is also produced from our cell phones, anything that we turn on as electricity. So urban encroachment is a huge deal for Fort Huachuca, and it's also a big deal for the San Pedro River. So I'm going to give you just a brief overview of the map of what the Sentinel landscape designation actually looks like. Now, the Fort Huachuca Sentinel landscape covers the area that we call the mitten. So you can all see we hold our hands up. It matches the map pretty similarly. What this map highlights, again, is you've got your Fort Huachuca designated in that salmon color, the airspace above that, and then what we call the Buffalo Soldier Electronic Testing Range. That is that mitten outline that I just showed to you, and which you can all see on your screen based off of this map. And again, the reason why this area is so important is because it is protected from the Tucson area and those electromagnetic rays produced from urban areas. So we've got the Huachucas protecting us off to the west. We've got sort of the Chiricahuas that are outside of that testing range to the east. And we've got this really unique bowl. We've got the Dragoon Mountains to the north of us. And this protected environment helps the military do its testing. But you might be asking, well, what else is really unique about this area? Why would it be designated a Sentinel landscape? So I want to talk to you a little bit about what is so special about this landscape that we all live in. Again, just to touch base on it, it's electromagnetically pristine and quiet, due in part to the Sky Island mountain ranges. The San Pedro River, which we all love and is depicted in the background of my screen, flowing north from Mexico, is one of the last undammed rivers in the Southwest. There are 14 federally listed threatened and endangered species that we're trying to protect, as well as several state listed and at-risk species. Fort Huachuca is also the largest employer for Cochise County. And a large part of that, as you probably deduced from the map, is that agriculture is a large part of the local economy as well and surrounds the military installation. A lot of those state Bureau of Land Management and U.S. Forest Service lands are leased from ranchers along the San Pedro River. We also have farmers, which take great pride in really utilizing sustainable management practices, and due in part to the relationship that we have with the USDA, especially the Natural Resources Conservation Service, is that farmers and ranchers in this area really are encouraged to utilize those sustainable management practices, which help keep water in the river, help keep open space around the fort, and really protect this area that we all know and love. So how does the Sentinel Landscape Partnership function? This is a question that I get often as the program coordinator. At the federal coordinating committee level, as we discussed a little bit already, we've got the Department of Defense, the Department of Interior, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture. This group at the federal level helps local landscapes function by hiring partnership coordinators and helping the local partnerships do that. They help ensure that priority consideration for certain federal dollars and federal funding opportunities. They host monthly phone calls for all of the 7 Sentinel landscapes that are currently designated so that we can learn from each other. And as I often say, sort of rip off and duplicate ideas, which there's nothing wrong with that, and support the Sentinel Landscape Partnership coordinators. So we do have that federal support, and we're really, really grateful for that. Locally, the Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape Partnership Steering Committee is made up of representatives from the Bureau of Land Management, the Fish and Wildlife Services, which represents the Department of Interior aspect, the U.S. Forest Service, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which represents the USDA, and Fort Huachuca, which represents the Department of Defense. At this local level, their functions are to identify common goals amongst collaborators, to accomplish compatible missions, resource alignment, and preserve the economic drivers which sustain the Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape region, basically our home. Additional partners. You might be asking, well, who can participate in the Sentinel Landscape? What does that look like? Agencies and NGOs may participate at the steering committee level, which is that local level that I just discussed, by invitation. Any Arizona government agency or quasi-government agency group or NGO may participate in the following sub-working groups, which we have: open space and working lands. That group focuses specifically on conservation easements and opportunities that we can work towards to protect that open space. Communications, we have a group specifically focused on telling the Sentinel Landscape story, and really grateful for the work that they do. In fact, they've just produced their 4th quarterly newsletter. And we also have a group focused on restoration. This group is focused on any landscape level grassland restoration work, water work, fire and fuels reduction type of work. And really, these individuals come together from these agencies on their own volunteer time to try and figure out how to protect this region and this environment. Landowners within the Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape who are voting members with their local natural resource conservation district, or who have a resource management plan with their local NRCS office, can also participate in these 3 open space, communications, and restorations working groups. And we encourage that participation if there's any of you out there that are listening today. So what does a Sentinel Landscape designation mean for your local community? It means empowering private landowners, preserving our natural resources, supporting agriculture productivity, ensuring access to recreation, and again, strengthening military readiness. So you might be asking, well, great, all of these bullet points, but what does that actually mean? So empowering private landowners is something that my role takes a lot of pride in, and it's encouraged from that federal coordinating committee level. We provide a funding opportunities list of grants that are available for conservation and restoration projects. This is a list that is compiled and reviewed at least monthly, and it is sent out to all of our agency partners, natural resource conservation districts, and some of the projects that we encourage, and they're not limited to, is conservation easement work, grassland work, water and riparian restoration. So preserving our natural resources. One, empowering private landowners already kind of addresses this issue, but we're also focused on wildfire risk. Wildfire is the #1 risk to Fort Huachuca and its boundaries. And you can probably already guess that with the amount of wildfires that Arizona has been facing the last couple of years. However, because Fort Huachuca is focused on that electromagnetic testing and unmanned aerial vehicle testing, protecting that open space is also really, really important. However, to keep our landscape functioning at a level that is sustainable and where we really want it to be healthy, protecting those natural ecosystems on public and private land is really important as well. Some of the funding projects that the Sentinel Landscape has applied for and received in the last couple of years to help protect this pristine environment that we all enjoy is a program called the Joint Chiefs Restoration Partnership, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, and the Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program. And that Readiness and Environmental Protection Integration Program is actually funded entirely by the Department of Defense, because they see that need to help protect these installations. And part of protecting these installations is protecting the environment that's around them. So the next bullet point is supporting agricultural productivity. By supporting sustainable land management practices, as I've stated before, that improve water, air, and soil quality for working landowners, we're ultimately helping their businesses succeed. Now, why is this important to Fort Huachuca? This is important because if you're a farmer and a rancher, most of your land is undeveloped, thus reducing the need on natural resources, and that electromagnetic activity is reduced tremendously. Fort Huachuca functions much better if it has open space as its neighbor rather than a housing development as its neighbor. So we do want to make sure that our local economies are flourishing and that the agricultural economy in Cochise County is really doing well. It's a twofold benefit. So ensuring access to recreation. Collectively, the partnership's work really does help to ensure access to outdoor recreational opportunities such as hunting, fishing, and hiking on public land. A large part of the work that has been done in the last few years has been about protecting endangered species and threatened species, and also that fuels reduction works to reduce that risk of wildfire. Reducing the risk of wildfire helps ensure that our national forests don't close for the summers when we're all out there, and really making sure that we have access to those recreation sites that are available. Lastly, and again, one of the most important points is strengthening that military readiness point. By promoting all of these other land use activities, we are protecting the military installation and protecting our national defense mission. Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape covers 1.6 million acres and celebrated its 5-year anniversary in 2020. In those 5 years, It has accomplished many conservation and restoration projects and invested more than $32 million in the landscape footprint. We're very excited and proud of this number, and a large part of that has just been simply different entities, different agencies coming together and seeing the common ground that they can work towards the benefit of the Sentinel landscape, the installation, and finding that common ground to apply for these funds. If it weren't for this coordinated effort, this would have never been something that would have been able to be accomplished. Really, really proud of this number and the work that the partnership has achieved. Again, we're touching base a little bit on the restoration or the landscape investment types. So we keep talking about protecting farm and ranch land through practices and activities and cost share programs through NRCS. The USDA is a huge partner, and we are absolutely grateful for the work that they do. And then we also have a large part of that protecting those larger ecosystems, which include that landscape level approach to management and really finding those federal dollars and the partnerships that are available through the Joint Chiefs, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program, and the Readiness Program that I mentioned before. Now, conservation, when we talk about conservation specifically, we're talking about conservation easements that help combat encroachment that can restrict military training or testing and operations. So we have some great partners that we work with, and we're absolutely grateful for the Natural Resource Conservation Service and their work, Arizona Land and Water Trust and their work, and of course the Readiness and Environmental Protection and Integration Program that really helps us protect the installation from encroachment and make these conservation easements doable. So looking towards the future of our Sentinel landscape, resilience has been something that the Department of Defense, the USDA, the Department of Interior have all made really their priorities. Military installation resilience has been defined and is something that we're working towards every day. In fact, we're updating our strategic plan, some of our implementation plans, and really focusing on this particular topic. So the capability of a military installation to avoid or prepare for, minimize the effect of, or adapt to and recover from extreme weather events or from anticipated or unanticipated changes in environmental conditions. I will go ahead and let you guys read the rest of that paragraph, but I think we all understand really what resilience is, especially in regard to the climate conditions that we're all facing today. Expansion. The Fort Huachuca Sentinel Landscape Partnership is currently having discussions to expand the Sentinel landscape footprint. This would include what is known as the Tombstone Military Operating Area, which is basically restricted airspace from the portion of the eastern side of the current landscape footprint, or that mitten that we talked about, to the New Mexico state line. What this would mean for local partners is that more conservation and restoration dollars would be made available to the individuals and agencies that are working on the ground. So we see this as a huge added benefit and hopefully something that we can achieve this year. However, if not, the conversation will most definitely continue. For any additional information, I do encourage all viewers to go to sentinellandscapes.org. You can look up more information about the Fort Huachuca Sentinel landscape and really any of the Sentinel landscapes. Feel free to email me with any questions, and I look forward hopefully to presenting to all of you in person next year. Be well.